hot. Prep our potatoes. Come back. Thank you for tuning in again. Today we're gonna make one of the most unique and iconic dishes you can find in the whole Caribbean, because every island has their own version of it, and it's Pollo Guisado. We're gonna make a Puerto Rican one, or Puerto Rican style one, but before we start, keep in mind that every family, I think every family, every island, every era of the island has their own recipe and how they do it. So mine's gonna be a little bit different from yours. My recipe is from my mom-in-law. She's from Puerto Rico originally. She's an island girl. And I got the recipe from her, but I also added a little twist from me. But the base and everything and how you do it, that's her style and that's original from the island. So no more talking, let's dive right in. We're gonna need some chicken thighs. If you can get them boneless, get them boneless because it's gonna way easier. And some drumsticks. I always get a mix because I like to mix them both, but you can also just use chicken thighs. Also, you can get them skinless, but I think for the very first step we're gonna do, you're gonna need them with the skin because there's all the flavor. Then we're gonna need some potatoes. Same goes for the potatoes, up to your liking how many carrots you want. I take just 3 small to medium sized ones. Then we're gonna need some tomato sauce. Also, we're gonna need some tomato paste. Then the star of our show. It's sofrito. For this recipe, I only got my frozen batch because I already used all of my fresh one. But this means you can freeze up your sofrito in batches. And what I did is I froze up a batch exactly for the amount for 1 pollo guisado. So that's that. We're gonna need some salt, black pepper, garlic powder, a little bit of curcuma, and some fresh Dominican oregano. 2 packages of Sazón, Adobo, without pepper, but you can use one with pepper also. I just like to season it with pepper by myself. And what I like to use of all of them is Sazón Tropical. I think that's one of the best ones, and what I call these 3 is the holy trinity of my Caribbean cuisine, or in general of the Caribbean cuisine. So hopefully I didn't forget anything. Let's see. First we're gonna wash our chicken. Let's get the chicken ready. We're gonna start with the sazón. Then some good amount of salt. Can't put it in, but you can season the chicken also. A good amount of garlic. If you get fresh one, you have to rub it in your fingers so the scent gets stronger. Yeah. Then we can put it to the side and give it a good rest. Flavor can soak into the meat. And in the meantime, we're gonna prep our potatoes and our carrots. What I always like to do is put a small paper towel to the side so I can put all the things I do not need on them and I can get rid of them easily. As you can see. How much potatoes you want and need depends on how much you want to put in. I think I'm gonna go with 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5 big potatoes. I think that's enough. Gonna skip that part. So as you can see, that's my little trick. And I'm gonna make a little small package of it. And I can easily throw it away. Just dice them into small cubes so it doesn't take long for the stew to be ready. I think that's the perfect size. Yeah. I just leave everything on the board, and when we need it, we just put it in the pot. Also for the carrots, small cubes. Nothing fancy really, because I think Pollo Guisado is not for the eyes, but for the taste. Okay, bring it to a good heat, and then we're gonna put it with the skin side. Yeah, you hear the sizzle in the pot. Okay, I think it's gonna get a little bit higher. Okay, we're gonna remove the skin later, but now as you can see, all the grease from the chicken, that's what we need, what's gonna make all the flavor. I'm gonna put in my frozen sofrito. Return your heat to medium-high, so you don't need any oil. And then I put some tomato paste on top. Let it cook for a little bit. So all the grease from the chicken is gonna fuse together with the sofrito and the tomato paste. That's what's gonna make our really nice taste and flavor later on. By the time your sofrito is gonna cook up, you put in another package of Sazón in the mix. And all the grease from the bottom is gone, and it's in our base. Bring that up to a little boil. By the time your sofrito and tomato paste became one, and it's just one, yeah, like brownish base, that's when it's ready. There's like 1.5 cups plus 1 cup chicken stock. I just put it in the same pot where the tomato sauce was in, so that's why it's a little bit reddish. Mix it all together. Okay, then we're gonna season it with salt, some black pepper. You can season it with how much you like it, because what I like to do is I like to cook it because it needs 30 to 45 minutes, and then when it's done I like to season it again, because I think the potatoes, they just absorb the flavor. So there was garlic powder, then we're gonna put in some adobo as well. Sazón tropical, give it a good stir. Now comes the part that's maybe a little bit controversial, but I got it from my mother-in-law. And this step is totally optional. I get it if you don't like it. Is we put in not many, but a little bit of olives, because the juice of the olives and the olives on their own gonna add a little bit of extra flavor and a little bit of extra kick, what it needs. So I just put in, yeah, I think 5 olives and a little bit of the juice. This could be controversial for many of you, but that's how she does it, and that's how I'm gonna do it, and I think that's what's the secret in the sauce. So when that's ready, we're gonna put in our potatoes and carrots. Down the heat, but I still gonna let it sit on the stove for it to cool down and also calm down, because I think as it gets colder, the flavor is gonna get more inside of the potatoes and the carrots, if this makes sense. What I'm also gonna do when it's gonna get cooled down a little bit is that I'm gonna put out the chicken and remove it from the bone, and then gonna put it back inside, so it's gonna be easier to eat in the end, and it feels more like a stew. In the meantime, make our white rice. Put it up. can see it's already falling apart. They're not just the authentic way. You're gonna let it be as it comes. So that's just how it looks now. The shredded chicken. Okay, we are ready to serve. Let me get a plate. Keep in mind, Pollo Guisado is not for the eyes. It's more for flavor. That's how it turned out. It smells pretty nice. Taste test, but you really, tip from me, just wait till it cools down a little bit because it's gonna taste better if it's not that hot, but medium hot. Doesn't need any more seasoning. Just perfect taste, 10 out of 10 for me. So thank you for watching today and tuning in again. And I hope you enjoyed this recipe of Pollo Guisado, my family recipe and my interpretation of it. And let me know if you're gonna remake it at home and maybe what your family recipe for Pollo Guisado is. See you next week. Enjoy.